10 years had passed since Daniel Hayes signed the divorce papers with a pen that barely trembled. At the time, he told himself the shaking in his hand was anger, not regret. Regret was for weak men, and Daniel had promised himself he would never be weak again. He left the small courthouse with his head high, already picturing the future he believed awaited him: money, respect, admiration. Everything he thought his poor ex-wife, Emily, had held him back from. Emily had stood on the courthouse steps that day with empty hands and tired eyes, watching Daniel walk away without looking back. She had not cried then. She couldn't afford to. There were things growing inside her that Daniel did not know about, secrets she carried silently because she understood something he never had. Some truths change lives, and some destroy them. Daniel's rise was fast and ruthless. He had remarried ambition before he ever remarried a woman. From junior sales executive to partner in a real estate development firm, he clawed his way upward, cutting ties with anyone who reminded him of his past. He told his friends Emily had been lazy, too simple, too content with a small life. He convinced himself he had escaped poverty by leaving her behind. When Daniel met Victoria, everything aligned with the image he wanted to project. She was beautiful, polished, and came from a family that spoke fluently in money. Their relationship was efficient rather than passionate, but Daniel mistook approval for love. Victoria admired his drive. Her parents admired his bank accounts. It felt like victory. The wedding was planned to be the crown jewel of his transformation. A historic estate, white marble steps, crystal chandeliers imported from Europe, a guest list filled with investors and socialites. Daniel wanted everyone to see how far he had come. He wanted validation, and more than that, he wanted closure. That was when the idea came to him. He found Emily's name late one night while scrolling through old emails. It surprised him how easily it surfaced in his mind, like a scar you forget until you touch it. A slow smile crept across his face. Inviting her would be poetic, he told himself. She would see what she lost. He imagined her arriving in a modest dress, eyes wide with disbelief, finally understanding the price of letting him go. Daniel framed the invitation carefully, disguising cruelty as courtesy. He even added a handwritten note, a thinly veiled performance of goodwill. He told Victoria it was a gesture of maturity, proof that he harbored no bitterness. Victoria raised an eyebrow but said nothing. To her, Emily was irrelevant. The invitation reached Emily on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. She sat at the small kitchen table of her home, sunlight filtering through sheer curtains. 3 identical cups of juice sat in front of 3 identical children, arguing softly over whose straw was crooked. Emily smiled faintly as she read the elegant envelope, her fingers tracing the embossed letters. Daniel Hayes and Victoria Langley request the pleasure of your company. For a moment, Emily closed her eyes. She had known this day might come, though she never imagined it would arrive wrapped in gold-edged paper. The past stirred, not painfully, but with a strange calm. She folded the invitation neatly and placed it beside her purse. "Mommy?" one of the children asked, looking up at her with familiar gray eyes. "It's nothing," Emily said softly. "Just an old chapter saying hello." The triplets had been the beginning of everything Daniel never knew. 3 heartbeats at her first ultrasound, 3 cries in the delivery room, 3 lives that reshaped her entirely. The doctor had looked at her with sympathy when she explained she was alone. Emily only nodded. She had been alone before. She had learned how to survive it. The early years were brutal. Sleepless nights, overdue bills, secondhand furniture. Emily worked from home, then 2 jobs, then built something slowly and quietly. She didn't chase wealth, she chased stability. And somehow, through determination and help from unexpected kindness, she found herself succeeding. Not loudly, not publicly, but deeply. On the day of the wedding, the estate buzzed with anticipation. Guests arrived in luxury cars, dressed in tailored suits and gowns that shimmered under the sun. Laughter echoed across the manicured lawn as champagne glasses clinked. Daniel stood near the entrance, greeting guests with a practiced smile. He felt powerful, admired. Everything was exactly as he had envisioned, until he noticed the murmurs. At first, it was subtle. Heads turned toward the gate. Conversations stalled mid-sentence. A low hum of curiosity spread through the crowd. Then the limo appeared. It glided up the long driveway, sleek and black, its windows tinted. The engine purred to a stop right before the steps. A uniformed driver stepped out and opened the door. Daniel's smile froze. Emily stepped out first. She wore a simple yet elegant dress, deep blue, tailored perfectly. Her hair was styled softly, framing her face. There was no trace of the exhausted woman he remembered. Her posture was calm, assured. She looked like someone who belonged anywhere she chose to stand. Then 3 small figures followed. 3 identical children, holding her hands, dressed neatly in matching outfits. Their faces were unmistakable. Daniel's world tilted. The resemblance was cruel in its clarity, the same gray eyes, the same curve of the mouth, the same serious expression he saw in the mirror every morning. Blood drained from his face as the truth slammed into him without mercy. Triplets. His triplets. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Emily walked forward, the children at her side. Whispers rippled through the guests like wildfire. Victoria turned, her smile fading as she followed the direction of every gaze. "Daniel," she said softly, confusion creeping into her voice. "Who is that?" Daniel couldn't answer. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Emily stopped a few feet away from him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Time stretched thin, heavy with everything left unsaid. "Congratulations," Emily said at last. Her voice was steady, neither warm nor cold. "Your wedding is beautiful." Daniel swallowed hard. "Emily, what is this?" She looked down at the children, then back at him. "This is your invitation," she replied calmly. "I thought it would be rude not to bring them." The children stared at Daniel with quiet curiosity, unaware of the earthquake they had just caused. One of them tugged gently at Emily's hand. "Mom," he whispered, "is that him?" Emily nodded once. "Yes." Daniel's knees felt weak. The past rushed back in fragments, missed calls, ignored letters, his impatience with responsibility. He remembered Emily's silence after the divorce, how she had disappeared completely. He had assumed she had faded into obscurity. Instead, she had built a universe without him. Victoria's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Daniel," she said sharply. "Are those?" He finally found his voice. "I didn't know," he said hoarsely. "You never told me." Emily met his gaze without flinching. "You never asked." The words struck harder than any accusation. They were simple, undeniable. Daniel searched her face for bitterness, for resentment, but found none. Only distance. Guests shifted uncomfortably, the wedding's carefully curated elegance cracking under the weight of reality. Daniel felt exposed, stripped of the power he had clung to for so long. "I invited you," he said weakly, "to make peace." Emily smiled faintly. "Then consider it made." She turned slightly, preparing to leave, but one of the children stepped forward. He looked up at Daniel, eyes bright with curiosity rather than anger. "Do you like dinosaurs?" the boy asked. A ripple of quiet laughter moved through the stunned crowd. Daniel blinked, tears threatening to spill. "Yes," he whispered. "I do." The child grinned, satisfied, and returned to Emily's side. She gave Daniel one last look, not triumphant, not cruel, just honest. "Take care of yourself, Daniel. I hope today gives you everything you wanted." With that, she guided the children back toward the limo. The driver closed the door gently, and the vehicle pulled away, leaving behind silence thicker than any applause. Daniel stood frozen as the realization settled fully into his bones. The wedding continued around him, but the victory he had imagined tasted hollow. The past he thought he had conquered had simply waited, patient and dignified, until the moment he was ready to see it. And somewhere down the road, Emily sat in the limo with her children, watching the estate disappear behind them. She felt no satisfaction, no revenge. Only peace. She had not come to be shamed. She had come to close a chapter, on her own terms.